Essentially what we're going to do this, we're just going to tell you about different types of party games that are not Cards Against Humanity. But we're going to start. Cards Against Humanity is in a subgenre of party games we like to call chooser games, where like one person chooses a thing. And it's that simple, like here is a prompt, everyone hand me stuff, I'm going to choose the one I like the most. And that's why we call them chooser games. I would say before Cards Against Humanity, the most popular of those was Apples to Apples. Apples to Apples is like Cards Against Humanity, but like less Hitler. Like significantly less homophobia. Like by all of it, by all of the homophobia, there's less. So we're going to talk about just a couple of those. So if you hand me the first game, the first one I want to show you, and this is exactly the same type of game, we're just going to show you a couple that are very much like what you've seen. This is a game called Say Anything. Say Anything... Uh-oh. It did the upside down thing again that I wish it wouldn't do. That is true. Okay, we got it. So Say Anything actually came out a couple years before Cards Against Humanity, and here's the beauty of Say Anything. Is it still a chooser game? Yes. I say something like, I think blah 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 blah, and then you fill it in. Rather than blah 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 blah, I'm just going to grab the back of the box. And I'm going to read, what's the back of the box have? What would make next weekend more exciting? And then here's the difference. There are dry erase boards in this. So what this means is this. If you want to be a terrible person, we don't stop you at all. If you're playing this game with 10-year-old children, you're just going to answer differently. The game kind of lets you decide how bad you can be. If you're with your friends where all of those terrible jokes are appropriate, man, make them. Make every one of them and love it. Put those inside jokes together, say those horrible things, talk about that one person you know, but like none of us really like, but we all know them, but no one likes them, but we don't tell them we don't like them, but we know them and we don't like them. Feel free to reference that. But once again, remember, if you're playing with like children, you can play the exact same game, it does the exact same thing, and you can put things that are significantly kinder and nicer on. Okay? So that's just one game that you can kind of look at. It's in that same series. There's one more I really want to show you, because I think it's just super cool. And this is a game called Bring Your Own Book. It tells you literally what you have to do. You have to bring your own book. So literally, take a book from your bookshelf. Any book from your bookshelf. And you will be using it to answer prompts. So if you'd be kind enough, Rocky, to open that, it's a cool magnet. Yar! I know, right? Cards. So let's take a look. Let's show a card to the crowd. Is it upside down?
Sort of.
Oh, okay, because there's always one that's right side up. Very nice. So one person's going to be the chooser, just like all these other games. They're going to have that prompt. What everyone else does is on I believe, a 2-minute clock, you start rifling through the book that you have, and you find a line that you're going to read. Now, we have on the show tested this, and because we do so many games, we've done, 86 episodes now. So by the time we got to this, we were like jaded, hardened party gamers. We were like, oh, well really, you really bring your own book, bring any book. So one person brought, not the Bible, but I want to say like a religious teaching text. One person brought a C++ programming book. Was that you?
No.
Which one did, because you were them.
I tried to use one on a Kindle and it didn't work.
Okay.
So I borrowed your complete script of...
Pulp Fiction. It was the complete script of Pulp Fiction.
Which works great if you have every line to that movie memorized, because then you just know the line you're looking for and find it.
You're like, is Marcellus Wallace? And you just start looking through till you find the line that you need.
Exactly. Yeah, but we had such a collection. We had, what was it? Professor Bach.
And
philosophy book.
Adult handbook, we'll say.
Yes, someone.
Yeah, we did have one very adult book, and I will say the title, and that's it, and we can leave it there. It's called The Guide to Getting It On. Which, if you've ever seen, it's actually a pretty in-depth book, but we tested that too, because we were like, let's take everything we can find, and let's just chuck it in this and see if it works, and I'll tell you this. Every single book works.
Yeah.
Every one of them. The C++ book, there's some weird line in the middle of the C++ programming book where it's like, remember, your programming will terminate under all circumstances. And you're like, oh, I'm going to use this. This isn't going to work for me. Part of the way through, you switch books, so you can't just bring a book you know has really great lines. You're going to have to give that book up about halfway through the game. When someone starts to get close to the end of the number of points they need, everyone switches books to the left or to the right, so you can end up potentially with anything. So that is just one. Nobody rates this especially high. We love it though, which is why we're telling you about it. If you can find a copy of this, you literally can go to the expo hall, grab any like 5 random books you can find, and they will absolutely work with this. Let me refresh on my notes. The next thing we're going to talk about are clue-giving games. A whole bunch of what our party games are clue-giving games. So in some cases, you are trying to convey some thought to another person, but in some weird way that you don't really want to have to do it, but you're going to have to. The first one we're going to show off is Dixit. Does anybody know Dixit? Is this a nice? So then you already know that it's a mix of like a chooser game next to a clue-giving game, but filled with nightmares. So, Rocky, maybe kind of to open it up, let's just show a couple of nightmares to the crowd. Here's essentially how it works. If you're kind of the chooser person, if you're the main person, you're called the storyteller. You take a card out of your hand, any one of these nightmares, and you can say literally anything. So it can be like a noise. You can just say like, "Mrr," and put it down. Or you can say, like on this one, it appears to be we are at a carnival made of cardboard with a weird magician who just woke up because he is in jammies. What you're trying to do is, everybody in their hand can grab a card they think matches your description. What you want is if everyone gets your card, that's bad. If no one gets your card, that's bad. If anything in the middle happens, you score points. So you want to be like weird and obtuse, but not so weird and obtuse that no one gets it. So the key to Dixit, if you want like the life hack on Dixit on how to break this game, is going with one person you know really, really well. Like just to where you can make like a random reference that makes no sense, where you're like, that night in Paris, it was blue. And just put the card down. Everyone's like, that doesn't even make sense. It's like crappy beat poetry. What is he doing? But that is essentially how that works. It kind of sits on that line between a chooser game and a clue-giving game. The next one that I think we have to talk about, I feel like this one we might not even have to lay out. Code names, everybody already know code names? A couple people, I heard like one, no, like really softly in the crowd. We're not going to take the time to completely lay that out, but we'll show you some of the cards. Here's how code names works. It is like a 1970s game show in literally the best possible way. You're going to lay out a grid of 25 words. And what are a couple of them? We have movie, and rubber, and booty.
Yeah, wait, this is a normal deck.
No, I think it's a normal deck. I think we took all the like, oh no, it's not. No, I can tell by one card I'm looking at that it's not the normal. I have one card here. This card, that card is a problem. That card, did I get that on the camera? I'm sorry.
So they do make an After Dark version?
So essentially what happens...
This is much better, hold on. Yeah.
Okay, those are better. Fighter and kangaroo.
Well, maybe.
And palm and mouth. Piano feels better. So you're going to lay these out in a grid that is 5 by 5, and each person in your team is going to have like a clue giver. And each of the clue givers in each of the teams are going to be able to see this, which is a grid that tells them exactly which ones they need to get. If you're on the blue team, you need the blue ones. If you're on the red team, you need the red ones. If you ever uncover the black one, your team just loses. You are only allowed to say 2 things. You can say a number that is supposed to be the number of cards that this clue pertains to. And you can say a single word, and that is it. What you want to do is kind of, with rapier precision, is slice through and get your team to exactly the cards that they need. This is the #1 party game on Board Game Geek right now. And this is a game that if you really like held us to the fire and asked us, is not really a party game. It's because like it's 10 people staring at a table in silence.
It depends on, if that's your kind of party.
That is true. If that is your kind of party, and for a lot of folks it is. It is a great game. It plays a ton of people. It is a super cool experience. We absolutely think it's fantastic. We started questioning. It's a little more of like a game than a party game. Like never have I seen, even in the best games of Codenames, like anyone cheer. Like even if someone's like copper 5, and they get it, they're like, good. And that's it. You're like, that's not really a party. I'm glad you feel good though. That's awesome. But I would say that if you're looking for an experience for a bunch of people that is fun and has that kind of game show feel of like, I'm gonna do this mental pursuit, that is a fantastic game to look at. The next one, we're just gonna flash the box here. If you are like, do any of you identify yourselves as like for real game nerds? Like, That's a way that I tell people I'm a gamer. Okay, then if code names, you're like, that's for sellouts. Code names is what you do if you're into pop music. I'm going to be more hardcore. You want decrypto. Literally all decrypto is described as to most people is code names, but if you are also a gamer. You have to give clues to your team, but the other team can hear you. If the other team can figure out what you're talking about, they can take your points away from it. So it's a lot more open-ended. You're given something like, you need to describe this. Give one word. So you're still doing the one word thing, but you get a couple of rounds to do it, but the other team can hear you, and the other team has a chance to steal it. So it's about creating a code that your team knows, but that the other team doesn't. Okay? So that's it, beep boop. Another one. This one, I don't even know, have either of you played this one? Or is this just one that I know?
Obviously, I've played all of them.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I know I brought one or two.
We're the experts.
You wouldn't bring games we haven't played.
So this is a game where conceptually, basically, I would say in Word Slam, you're going to use words to describe words. That's really that's what it is. But yeah, open it up.
You're really selling it here.
No, I understand. So what it does is this is a team game. You can play this with a whole bunch of people. This is another one of those good like 8 to 10 player shindigs, where each of you is going to have one of these super cool card holders, and you are going to get. There we go. Each team, the orange team and the blue team, each gets a deck of cards with the exact same cards in them, and they are all vague descriptors that are not at all helpful. You need to use these to convey an idea. So we're looking right here, like Mount Everest. So you might say green, place, high. I think there's like a United States card. But you're doing all this while I would best describe Nickelodeon game show style, like digging through a random jumble of cards, trying to find the right cards to put up. At the same time, the other team across from you is doing the exact same thing. So what that means is if you really want to be, and I think the game wants this, but I'm going to call you a jerk for doing it. If you want to just not even look at what's on the board in front of you and just listen to the other guesses, and every time they make a guess, make a similar guess, that is absolutely allowed. If people are like, I don't know, arcade, you're like television. You know, like you are 100% allowed to do that. So you're in this race of trying to get this word faster than the other team while knowing that both teams can hear what's going on. So that is a really cool, being the person that has to give the clues can be super frustrating in this game. So if you love that like frustration of trying to explain these things to people where you're like, oh, but my hands are tied, I'm trapped in boxing gloves and I can't tell you anything, this is definitely the way to do it. As often happens to people, we're like, I just want to pick up a soda, but all I have are boxing glove hands.
You take off your hands when you go to sleep.
You know, like that. So that is Word Slam. Word Slam is very similar to another game we're going to show you in a couple of minutes called Concept. But yeah, Word Slam is a super cool way. Once again, it's a great team game. You can play it 5-on-5, and it's perfectly fine. You can also play odd-numbered teams, and that doesn't affect anything. So if you're at a party where people are going to drop in and drop out, Word Slam is great for that. You can play to like 3 points. Okay, you want to go, he wants to come over, she's got a drink, come on over. And she's like, oh no, but I don't really play games with a beer in my hand. Play a game with a beer in your hand, come on over. You can do that in Word Slam, and it doesn't affect it at all, which is a super cool thing that game does. The next one we're going to do, another way to convey ideas to people is with your body. Charades is, of all the games when I talk to people, the one that causes the most like cringy looks. I'm like, oh, what about charades? People are like, how about I leave? We have one game that we love where you use your body to convey words, and it's such a small change, but I think such an important one.
Yeah.
We're actually going to do this with, we're going to do it with an app.
We don't have a copy of it.
Okay, so here's the deal. The game we're about to tell you about is out of print, but there is a free app available you can play it with, and we're about to demo the free app. So here's what I need. I need one person that wants to take guesses. Who just wants to take guesses? Anybody, any person that, okay, in the back, I see you in the back, come on. Round of applause. And what's your name?
What's your name?
Winter.
Hi! You get the easy job. Yeah. Nice work.
So what we're going to do is we're actually going to position you right here next to the screen. Do not look at the screen, because the screen is where the clues are going to be. I need, what do we think, 5 people? I need 5 people that want to give clues, but with their body.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take you, we'll take you, we'll take you, we'll take you. We'll take either of you, fight it out. I suggest you thumb wrestle. So if you would be kind enough, Rocky, to explain the basic rules, I'm going to punch the apple.
All right, so it's a little different from regular charades, where it's one person making a fool of themselves in front of a group and you feel real embarrassed. Instead, the group gets to feel embarrassed and one person gets to guess. Usually in reverse charades, you're trying to see how many you can get through in a certain amount of time. So, yeah, so
Right side up, okay.
the other interesting thing is that the group acting out can't talk to each other. But usually what happens is someone will see that someone is doing something else and they'll start working together and it's hilarious. No pressure, y'all.
And then what I'm going to do is, there's usually one house rule that we have. It's not in the game, but I like to house rule this one. Is you're going to get to see the first clue. Feel free to talk your plan on clue number 1 out without being able to hear you. Did I get that right? Okay. I just want to make sure. You can kind of chat the first one up so that you get a little bit of confidence. After that, you can't anymore. One more thing to note. Between the team and the guesser, you get 2 passes, and that's it. So if you are like, I don't care how long you're doing this, I'll pass. You're allowed to, but once 2 of those go, you start taking penalties. Same thing on the team. If you look at it and it's a concept that you know you can't work out, you can just touch the rest of your team members and just give the, oh, hell no, this is not a thing we can do, okay? So we've set the board, so we're calling it a 2-team game. Let's do, you know what, we have new folks. Let's do a full 90 seconds, because we're only going to do 1 round of this.
All right.
Okay, so here we go. Team 1 is purple, team 2 is blue. Sure, that's a thing. Yeah, okay, and we're going to start your turn. The clock is starting whether I like it or not, but we'll let you talk the first one out. And you're going to feel left out for just a moment. Hopefully they get started. Here we go.
Go!
Time is on.
Shoestrap. Velcro. Yay!
Yes.
Spear.
Okay.
A slingshot. Chopsticks. 4 people. I don't know.
That's amazing.
Fishing cup. Oh, I didn't.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, that is reverse charades. A big hand to everybody who took the time to come up. Thank you all for being a part of that. So essentially what you saw just goes team to team based on a number of rounds. Normally what I suggest is you make sure every person is the guesser 1 time. So if you play 5-on-5, play 10 rounds. If you play 3-on-3, play 3 rounds, just so everybody gets a chance to have been that person that's upset they're trapped there and doesn't quite know what's going on. You want to make sure you kind of have that sort of uncomfortable feeling at least once. Let me get us back to the camera. I think, if I'm right, if I do this correctly, the camera is face up for you here, like that. Is that a thumbs up?
No.
Okay, cool, then still turned around. We're not going to worry about it. We're moving on. The next thing we're going to talk about is this a room that knows what co-op games are? Like, is that a thing? You understand that? So you understand that's the idea that, like, you're playing the game, you're not playing each other. So, party games have one notable new game that does exactly this. And it's a game called Just One. So I think should we try playing this with some folks for 1 round? I think we should. Who wants to be on this side? Who wants to be the person? Okay, you can be on this side with us. You're going to be the person where people are guessing your clue. Can I get 4 people? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here's what's going to happen. What is your name? Ben. Okay, Ben. You are not going to be any part of this for quite a while. And everyone else, what are your names? Kara? Eddie? Melanie? Henry? Thank you very much for coming up. Everybody has, and let me just grab one. Everybody has like one of these dry erase nameplate card holders. For the person who needs to eventually guess this, we're going to just shuffle the deck of cards. Or we're just going to pull one card out. What am I doing? Pull a card out. I'm acting like I have to do it. You're right there. Okay. Face it towards all of our guessers. And face it on the board. Although we can make it the crowd can see it. We're going to do let's do number 5, folks. So what's going to happen is this. On your dry erase board, you are writing one word you think can help him guess the clue. You cannot look at each other's. And in a moment, we're going to show your clues to each other, and if they match, he will not get to see them. Yeah, so I heard like an audible ooh in a part of the crowd. You figured it out. So the deal is sometimes you're the guy that just says like, I'm gonna run in and I'm gonna give the most obvious clue and you can deal with it. And you're like, well, I hope he gives the most obvious clue, because if he doesn't give the most obvious clue and I give the most obvious clue, our clues are gonna cancel each other out. So you have to sit in your head figuring out whether you make the best clue or the second best clue or the 5th best clue, or you know some weird thing about the topic that the person doesn't, or you hope that you can come at it from like a weird angle where you're like, oh, you thought that we were going to do bow and arrow, but I'm going to give you a character that uses a bow and arrow, and then somebody else gives you another character that uses a bow and arrow, and then the guess is eventually like fantasy. You're like, that wasn't it at all. So what we're going to do is this. I'd like to ask you, have you all written something down? Okay, I'd like you to close your eyes. Sleep. I always wanted to like do hypnosis. Okay, so don't talk to each other. Let's just put all the boards down and put them so that the crowd can see them. We'll do it like this.
Underneath the thingy.
Underneath the thingy. So we're looking at that. We're looking at that. We're looking at, let me make sure that these are on camera.
Nice work, everybody.
Yes. So everybody is given a completely different clue. So now what we're going to do is we're going to face these towards the guesser. And now you have open your eyes and awake. And you'll never smoke again. So take a look. You have these 4 clues in front of you. You can guess one word.
Mountain.
The guess is mountain. Unfortunately, it is Everest. It is Everest. So you would not get the point. Essentially in this game, you get a stack of cards in a certain number of rounds. As a team, you're trying to collect a certain number of points. So you're working together to get as many points as you can using this system. Thank you so much for giving it a try. Thank you so much for coming up. A round of applause. I just saw that card mangled and it made me cry.
All right, bro.
I'm sorry.
You made this choice.
I understand. I understand. Let's take a look. So there actually is one co-op game that we want to talk about. We said we weren't really going to do this, but we really want to give it a try. Before I do that, just so you have time to pack that up, there is one. Most of this is supposed to be tabletop. I'm supposed to tell you about cardboard things. I'm not going to entirely do that. If any of you know the Jackbox series of games, they do. So here's the deal. If you are like on a camping trip and you can't get the internet, everything we're talking about is great. If you can get people, especially folks that like won't leave a screen, they refuse. Jackbox does a fantastic job of taking some of these games and synthesizing them into experiences you can play on your phone. None of them I've seen, none of the whole packages are bad. Individual games might be garbage, but if they're garbage, they're buried in the middle of a bunch of really good games. So I would say check those out. They're going to give you trivia, which we're going to talk about some trivia things. There's Bidiots, which is like a really weird kind of bid puzzle drawing thing. There's a lot of like fun drawing communication games, and concept games, and all that stuff is there. So we just want to at least mention that to everybody, that even as folks that we've made 80 episodes proselytizing party board games, we think Jackbox is fantastic, and if you have the opportunity, you should check it out. There's also one other app that I want to show you. They made a cardboard game, but I don't know how I feel about it, but I really, really love it as a game. Let me see if I can find it here. I'm just hoping there's not going to be any weird apps you're going to see. You're like, oh, that's a real weird app he has. Yeah, I had the DC Universe. I'm that guy. I wish I remembered where I put it. I didn't put it there. That's not a place. I could, but I feel like there's just a limited number of places I would have put it.
He's committed now.
Yeah, I'm already in this. This is what I'm going to do now. Hey, Rocky, feel free to talk.
So I'm gonna talk. I just don't know what about, because we're waiting for this. Am I allowed to say what it is yet?
So, no, tell everybody what it is. Tell everybody what it is.
Sometimes it's about the reveal.
No, it's not about the reveal. It's not about the reveal. This is not RuPaul's reveal race. That's not what we're doing.
Space Team. So what it is everybody has the app on their phone or mobile device. And you're all on a spaceship that is falling apart. And you all get different instructions, but you may not all be able to do the thing on your device. So you have to shout out to everybody else, like, hit the blobbity blue. And there are names like that. Like, they just make any sense. It's like, turn the blah 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 blah.
And unfortunately, because nobody else, I don't know how to get people, all I can do is show you kind of basically what the screens look like. But I mean, it's up there. Those screens are sideways, right? Oh, really? That's okay. That's awesome. That's Apple doing better than I thought Apple was going to do. But that's exactly what it is. You all have to be in the same space. So all it really does, it still makes it just like a party board game, and it puts you in the same place at the same table. But it takes all of the like deck management and like fiddly garbage that can come with some board games and gets rid of it for this. So you have to like literally scream at each other and flip your phones over, and you need to find like weird names of things, where it's like the do-a-jiggy needs to go to 4, but it's probably not. You have the command on your phone, but you don't know where the do-a-jiggy is. You need to yell out to someone. So it's a communication party game that I really think like it does some things that in tabletop we can't necessarily do, because it can separate everything, it knows that everything's separate, it does a lot of cool things, and uses that technology to make a really cool group experience you can have. So it is another app that I would definitely suggest that you consider, because it's super awesome. Yeah, just thought I'd put that out there. And then we'll go back. Let me see if I can, okay, that's good. Things are good, we're fine, it's fine, and we're back. Another one to talk about is there are a bunch of clue-giving games that are kind of like a game called Celebrities. Is that public domain game? Does anybody know that? Okay, a couple people. I think for Board Game Geek, your Board Game Geek folks are going to know this as Time's Up. The more popular version right now is Monikers. You've probably seen this at a Target or a Walmart or your friend's house. Or essentially what's going to happen is this. It is a box full of like people and events you might know. So let's open that up and let's just pull a couple of those out. Just kind of give you an idea of what you're going to get. What I really love about Monikers versus the other versions is Monikers gives you a full background story to give you context for what the thing is. So yeah. A swinger, you're from the 70s, you like everybody.
Some of these may apply here.
Yeah. So you're going to have these in your deck, and you even have a number of points at the bottom. Essentially, you're going to be dealt a hand of cards, usually something like 7. You're going to get to pick 5 of them. So you're going to pick 5 you feel like you know enough about to be able to communicate them. The whole deck gets shuffled, and you're on usually 2-player teams. So what's going to happen is I would get the deck, and there would be a clock, normally like a minute, 90 seconds. In most cases, it's whatever you want to put on your phone, however long you want to give people. For round number 1, until all the cards are done, you can communicate any way you want to, you just can't say the thing on the card. So I can do everything I want for a swinger, I just can't say a swinger. For round number 2, I'm allowed to use 1 word and 1 word only, but I can do as much like charading as I would like. So what will happen is in round 1, as we're going through, we're going to start to form like a communal language in what these are. Because I'm like, you know, like a swinger. And everybody's going to be like, oh, that was real weird to watch you do that. But the next time when I'm like, you're like, that's a swinger. The 3rd round, you can't speak at all. You can only pantomime. Now, the good news is every card will be gone through every time. So you're going to see every card, and as a group, you're going to form a communal language of how we communicate these cards to each other. So when you get to the 3rd round, when you think of it right now, trying to communicate, let me take a look at something, Xena Warrior Princess, in 1 motion, it feels very, with no words, it feels very difficult. But after we've done 1 round of being able to say anything we want except Xena Warrior Princess, and then another round where we can only say 1 word where I'm just like, oh! And you're like, that's real weird, but I think that's Xena Warrior Princess, right? Because you know in your head there's only like 30 possible words, so they're going to make it easier and easier for you to parse out what they could possibly be. So that is how that sort of system works. If you play it as Time's Up, it's usually all like historical figures. If you play Monikers, I like Monikers the most because this is kind of that like adult cheeky version, but it has a lot of like more modern references, and I love that it gives you the complete understanding of what the references are. When you played Time's Up, they just like gave you the person. And some of them would be really weird, like they gave you Nikola Tesla, well before people were like real hot on Tesla. So people were just like, Nikola Tesla. And you're like, hey, somebody give me a history book, like...
Can I settle something?
Sure.
Hey, how many people in this room know who Laura Ingalls Wilder was? Bruce.
Okay, but look, like I have a whole part of that back corner. Yeah, you too. You too, my man, you too. And that, just so you don't think we're actually going to have a real fight, Chris in the back is also a part of the Party Game Cast.
Still going to be a real fight.
Oh, say it again?
Still going to be a real fight.
It's still going to be a real fight, but like not right now. But that was one, yeah, somebody was like, blah, 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 Laura Ingalls Wilder. I was like, how is that a thing? How is that a thing you know? That's not real to me. You know, that's what I learned, and I never get to forget
They're
it.
taking you to a Little House cosplay.
That's a, wow. Everything is a cosplay. But what you find, everything is a
Dressing him
cosplay.
up as Nelly.
Whatever we're doing, whatever the party is. But, yeah. But that's how this game works, is those kind of like insight. And we've held on to that. That game of Time's Up was like 5 years ago. And we still talk about that constantly. So you get to form a really cool rapport with your group playing games like that. Let me take a look. Let's move on to bluffing games. Yeah, a couple people love those. Bluffing games are going to be as simple as just like pure, true bluffing. And I'm going to show you a game called Skull. Skull is essentially a game called Liar's Dice, but with super awesome sugar skulls. So if you would be kind enough to pull, because the art in this is really amazing. So you have like this coaster, which shows your lives. And then you have a deck of matching cards that give you roses and skulls. Everybody at the table is going to hold all of their cards in their hand and then place a card on their kind of like main coaster. And you can either place a card or you can bid. And when you bid, that says, I can flip this many coasters over without getting a skull. You must start with your own. So what I might say is 4. The next person can bid higher and can say, I think I can do 5. Once someone says, oh, no, you're a crazy person. We are done. This is not possible. You flip yours over. You're like, well, my 2 are flowers. The top of her deck is a flower. The top of his deck is a flower. And that one is a flower. And you win, and you end up getting a bonus for that. If you ever do it and you're wrong, you're going to randomly lose one of your coasters. So you might lose your skull. You might lose a flower. No one knows. If you successfully do one of those challenges, you flip your coaster over. Once you're on the cool, sexy side, if you can do it one more time, you win the game. If not, once again, if you do one of those challenges and you fail, you lose a coaster. If you lose all of your coasters, you're out of the game. And it's that simple. It is as straightforward a bluffing game as you can possibly come up with. Is that a flower? Is that not a flower? We're going to work it out. So it doesn't get to where your more sophisticated social deduction games get. It is just, hey, it's a thing. We're playing with these awesome coasters.
It reminds me of that scene from The Princess Bride.
Yeah, am I going to drink the wine in the goblet in front of me? And that is exactly what that is just that interaction, kind of over and over and over again in the best possible way, with a whole bunch of people drinking a whole bunch of wine from a lot of different goblets. Another one to show you is Sheriff of Nottingham. A lot of people know Sheriff of Nottingham. The whole concept of the game, I'll give you the story, is one of you at the table is the Sheriff of Nottingham and everyone else is trying to sneak stuff into Nottingham. You will do that in like a felt bag and you have a hand of cards. Many cards are good. Bread. The town loves bread. Wine, I think the town loves apples. The town's okay with chickens. There's also contraband you can try to sneak in town. You can try to sneak silk in because apparently no to silk for some reason or another. Or a crossbow, because deadly. So what's going to happen is every interaction is putting cards in a bag and handing it to the Sheriff of Nottingham. And the Sheriff picks up the bag and says, well, I don't know if I'm going to let you in town. And then like a negotiation begins. Because you can say things like, look, here's what I'll do for you, Sheriff. I'm not saying there's anything wrong in there, but I just don't feel like dealing with the process of going through this. I'll give you $5 to not open that up. And if you would also open his up, that would be great if you could do that for me. We can totally make that happen.
Hey, wait a minute.
Say it again.
Hey, wait a minute.
Why would you have a crossbow? That would be, apples are great. I would only have apples.
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is the interaction the entire time. Is you're either on the side of the sheriff of Nottingham, or you're trying to figure out where the contraband is. If you open up an envelope and you were right, and there's bad things in there, you get bonuses as the sheriff of Nottingham. If they told you no, it's all apple, sheriff, and you wasted their time by opening them up, you're going to have to pay them if there wasn't anything bad. So you're just trying to get in and sneak all the stuff around. While this is happening, there's also bonuses if you bring in the most stuff. If you bring in the most apples, or the most bread, or the most, there's all kinds of bonuses. So you're playing this set collection game while you're playing this bluffing game, while you're playing this negotiation game. So it's a super cool game. It plays 5. Normally for party games we like to see it 6, but this is just such a cool bluffing game that if you had not seen this, I wanted to make sure that we showed this one to you. And now there's one more that plays 6 that just has like such cool stuff that I really want to show this to you. And this is a game called Cash and Guns. We're not going to go too deep into what Cash and Guns is, but I'm going to show you the pieces that you play with. I'll also warn you, this is a first printing. I think the second printing has cooler stuff in it. But if you'd be kind enough, just pull the main prop out and there we go. So essentially the game is this. You are in a Quentin Tarantino movie. All of you have robbed the bank. You now have to decide exactly how you're going to split the loot. And you're going to do it with these. Money's going to get flipped up in the center of the table. You're going to get a count of 3. On a count of 3, you're going to point at someone. You also have a deck of cards. I don't think that got changed. Where it's either going to say click, which means I didn't even put a bullet in the chamber. I just wanted to see if I could scare you. Or it says bang, and it means that when this goes off, I'm going to shoot you in the chest or face, whichever I can get to. I'm going to shoot center of mass, and I'm just going to see what happens. With those, once things are pointed at you, you can just duck under the table. But every time you duck under the table, you take dishonor. If you take too much dishonor, you cannot win the game. So you're going to have to be brave. You're going to stand up to bullets sometimes. So what happens is we go, okay, guys, so here we are. And we just need to split this money, right? So on the count of 3, we're going to have to figure out who exactly I'm shooting. 1, 2, 3. So then, okay, cool guys. No, this is sweet. I'm really glad you did this for the demo. Thanks a whole bunch. So then I have a decision. I can jump under the table and take a dishonor marker, or I can assume that both of you are lying.
Maybe you should just hide.
Yeah.
That seems like a thing I should do.
Probably.
And then you have a character figure that stands up, and then on a count of 3, you can either drop your figure down, which is I'm just diving under the table, or you can decide we're going to see how this works out. So I would dive under the table, because my thought is that if we're only playing 3 players and both of you are pointing at me, one of you has bad intentions.
Just one.
If the person you're pointed at dives under the table, you do not even show them what card you use. So they have no idea if you use the bang or not. You have to try and factor that in for the rest of the game. That also means if I was pointed at you, you already made me go under the table, which means my gun went under the table with me. So I'm no longer pointed at her. At the end of the game, the person with the most money wins. What I would say is this is just like, it's fun. I know it's wrong, and it's been like, that's fun to do every single time. And that is probably, for bluffing games, might be my favorite of the whole bunch, because like when do you see these in a board game? Like it's just not, like it's not a real thing that goes down. So I really love that. I even one time took that one to a funeral, and people loved it.
No, seriously.
Yeah. Honest to the story, brought in the car, and Rocky was with me. Rocky was like, look, bring some in the car. If something happens, pull them out, but don't just like open up with, hey, it's a funeral, here's some games. And we pulled out, and people had a lot of fun, and it really kind of helped people just sort of unwind and just like relax a little bit. So I really love that game for that. So let's say we've been Cash and Guns. We go into social deduction. We're just going to talk about the big ones everyone knows real quick. We can't talk about them too much. They're really the kind of thing we should play with all of you, but they're a panel unto their own. Wolf, which is some people are werewolves, some people are villagers. If you're villagers, kill the werewolves. If you're werewolves, kill the villagers. Or 2 rooms and a boom, which no one's taking over. There are 2 teams. One team has a bomber, one team has the president. If you are on the team with the president, you do not want the president and the bomber in the same room. If you're on the team with the bomber, you do want the bomber and the president in the same room. And then, because it's a game, there's like 200 cards that change how you interact. but that plays super, super large numbers, like 50 people at a time. The exact same as Werewolf. We're not going to get into this too much. I just wanted you to be aware that this is like the new Werewolf. If you only knew Werewolf, this is another one that plays those same like super duper huge numbers. We're talking about a couple more. Secret Hitler, is that a game that you know? Okay. If you love Secret Hitler, awesome. If at the name Secret Hitler you're like, I don't know, it seems a little icky to me. We're gonna give you a couple of ideas. Also, if you know the Resistance. So the Resistance works a similar way. A bad thing is going to happen. We're all gonna try and stop the bad thing from happening. Wait, 3 of you wanted the bad thing to happen.
I'm the Resistance.
You're no, I am not the Resistance.
I'm the Resistance.
So in Hell Hydra, it is the exact same deal, but you're the characters from Marvel Comics. What's going to happen is Doc Ock is going to attack New York. You all have cards, some are good, some are bad. You're going to play them and you're going to try and figure out who's helping Hydra. If the villains can eventually destroy New York, Hydra's going to win. If you can stop all of the villains, S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to win. This is a super cool mass market game that came out from Spin Master of all people, which if you know, like Spin Master's really famous for like air hogs, bum 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 bum, air hogs. Like that's what they do, but they have also made this game. It has really cool parts, but if you know those games like Secret Hitler and like The Resistance, this is exactly the same type of game, but your Marvel friends will play it with you because they did a really good job kind of with the Marvel theming on that one. Also, there's another type of these like social deduction games, Spyfall. Does anybody know Spyfall? Woo! So in Spyfall, there's going to be, if 6 of us are playing, 5 of us know where we are, and 1 of us sees the word spy. So what you're trying to do as the spy is you're trying to figure out where in the hell we are. You do this through questions that you ask one another. So what all of the non-spies are doing, what all the agents are doing, yes?
How's the weather?
The weather's all right.
Oh. Okay.
That's a perfect summation of exactly what that game is.
Did you dress for the weather?
Say again?
Did you dress for the weather?
I'm always dressed for the weather.
What did you wear?
Clothes, as one does. Because if you think I would show up here, without clothes, you're just not right.
I mean, like a lot of clothes?
Enough clothes.
Too many clothes?
Like I have to pack light. Everywhere I go, I have to pack light.
Okay.
Yeah. You just literally watch the game. But a bunch of us know where we're supposed to be, and you're trying to communicate to everybody else, hey y'all, I know we're at a casino. While the spy can't figure out where we are. What you have to do is both figure out who the spy is, and the spy needs to not know where we are. That is super important. If you're like, hey, I know you're the spy, but then she says, but we're at the casino, and you're like, no, we lost. That's how the game works. You have a group of, I think, 25 or 30 locations that everyone can look at. There's sort of one flaw in Spyfall, which is when you have this board that you hold when it's your turn and you're the person being asked questions. We actually print it out, and you can find them everywhere, is printouts of what all the different things are, because if not, the easiest way to win Spyfall is to look at the eyes of the person that's the spy as they dart their eyes around the board trying to figure out all the possible places we could be. So I would say if you play Spyfall, make a little set of boards like that so somebody can look at them the entire time, and then it's a lot harder to figure out who the spy is. There was also another game, we didn't bring it with us, but there's a game called A Fake Artist Goes to New York. This is the same game, except all of us know the picture we are drawing, and the fake artist does not. On your turn, in your color pen, you can make 1 mark. We are all trying to make the marks so that we all know that we are drawing a pencil, but that the fake artist does not know we are drawing a pencil. And once again, you need to figure out the fake artist, and the fake artist needs to have no idea what we're talking about. But it's the same thing, but it has kind of a neat drawing aspect to it. It was from a Japanese company called Oink. It has also been completely stolen, lock, stock, and barrel, and I think is called, like, Sunken Pirate in the US. It was put out by Buffalo Games. You can sometimes find it at, like, Target in a big wooden box. Let's say, like, what else do we have? Deception Murder in Hong Kong. This one ring any bells, anybody? Woo! Okay, like 2 people, I'm really shocked. So this is a mix of a clue-giving game, sort of like a werewolf social deduction game, and also the game Clue. So you're going to have a couple of cards out in front of you. Yeah, the whole box is just completely dumped over. You're going to have cards in front of you that are going to give you a murder weapon, and that are going to give you a motive, I believe.
Key to the story.
Yeah, it is a key to the story. So you're going to have and they're going to be out in front of you. Yeah, so you're going to know that the clue was a signature, and the person was killed by a kick. These roll cards are going to be handed out, so it's the exact same deal as you getting like a werewolf, where one person's like, you are the murderer. When everyone closes their eyes, there's a person called the lead investigator. Their whole job is to, through communication, tell everyone who the murderer is. But clearly you can't just say, it's her, although it's totally her though. What you're going to do is you have these boards. So when we do the eyes closed, eyes open, it's going to be the lead investigator and the murderer are going to look at each other. And I know it's you and you know it's me, and we know we need to mess with each other. I can communicate with people only through these sort of like weird boards, where it's like, tell me about the personality of the person who committed the murder. And I'm like, I have to think, well, they left an autograph and kicked you. So I don't know, despicable or arrogant might work. And everyone in front of them has two cards that are a potential murder, a potential way of murder, and a potential clue that was found on the scene. So you have to talk to each other to say, like, I think the lead investigator is trying to tell us that she kicked him and left an autograph. How arrogant is that? And you sort of do that discussion to try to get yourself to who is the murderer. There's a whole bunch of different like kind of crazy things the murderer can do to throw people off the scent. There's a bunch of crazy roles where like people kind of know who the murderer is and kind of don't. But that's the basic crux of the game, is that you're doing that same werewolf thing, but you're doing it through the eyes of like the game clue. Let's take a look. We've got about 10 minutes left, so I think we're going to jump to the games that have absolutely no score. We have two games. There are some games that are simply interactions. So I want to introduce those. So we're going to play two games with you at the same time. We're going to play Telestrations. Do we know Telestrations? Telestrations folks? There we go, some Telestrations folks out there. And then also Concept. So Rocky, if you'd like to introduce and explain Telestrations.
So, Telestrations. I would imagine everyone has played telephone at some point in their lives.
Yeah.
It is kind of like telephone, but you alternate drawing and guessing what it is. So, I have some set up here, which I will not open because it has a word in there, and I don't want to spoil this for everybody. There are cards with words on them, and then you will write what your word is, and then you will pass it. The first person has to draw what that word is, and then you pass it to the next person. They'll look at it and go, I have no idea what that is. And then they'll write what they think it is, and then they'll pass it to the next person, and then they'll look at that word and go, I have no idea how to draw that. And then they'll draw it, and so on until you're out of people. And then, there is a scoring system, but we find it more fun just to be like, what is this supposed to be? I don't even know. So I have three set up, so I figure we'll just, because the rows aren't what I thought they were, so we'll just go until there are no more pages. How about that? So we'll start with people in the front. I got three of these, so we'll start with two in the front and one in the middle. There's a joke there somewhere I'm going to leave out.
So what you're going to do is if you have a word, you're going to look at the word, and on the next page you're going to try and draw it. If you have a drawing in front of you, you're going to look at your drawing, and you're going to write what you think the drawing is. So what we're going to do is we're going to let a couple rows just do that. And in a couple of minutes, when they're done, we're going to present all of those to you, and you're going to get a real good feel for what Telestrations is. We have another game here that really, it's another one that has score, but that you should never ever score, and that is a game called Concept. So I asked earlier, do I have anybody that, in emojis is super good? Can super get a point across? Do I have anybody out there that wants to help me that, knows there's... Come on up, come on up. You already know it? Okay, cool. Well then, come on my side. Alright. Well, I guess on that side, it really doesn't matter. Whichever side was face up for everyone. I think we figured out it's all first. So it's like that, and that is face up for everyone out there? Yeah. Okay.
So with the Telestrations, I guess when it gets to the last person, the book is full, just wave it in the air and I'll come get it.
There we go. That's you see the board. You type those marks. I know, right? That's close. That's a ballpark. Okay. So, since you've already played, here are the pieces. I'm going to hand those to you. We're not going to explain the problem what you're doing. Make sure they can't see that. You want to just try hard. You're going to try obnoxious and hard. You feel like that? Sure. You have a crowd. You've got 100 people looking at you. No pressure. So here's what's going to happen. He is attempting to use this board, which gives you general concepts, like 0 or 1, or a face, or in the profession of. And he's going to try to first give you the main idea. This is the main thing that you want. Maybe the main thing I want you to know is that it is a person. So maybe I would say, hey, that's where I'm going to go. And then I can use smaller cubes that are green to tell you, I'm telling you more about this idea, this concept. I then can give you a sub-concept with one of these exclamation points. Maybe it is a face that cuts things. And you're like, that makes no sense to me. So what you're going to try and do is convey one of these more sophisticated ideas to the crowd. To all of you, watch what he's doing and attempt to make your guesses as best you can. Although this glare is a heck of a thing. Are you ready? Do you feel good? Do you feel like you know things?
Sure.
Okay. That's as good as we can hope for. Normally in this game when we play it, we don't play points. The points make absolutely no sense in this game whatsoever. Normally we play, if you have like one person that's giving clues and 8 people that are in the crowd, you can keep guessing until you're frustrated, and then you can give up and help the clue giver and continue to try to get through the game, hoping to get as few clue givers as you possibly need. So if we take a look now, the other thing, we saw this at the beginning, but a lot of you weren't here, is that there's like a giant blackboard under here that we thought we were going to use for this game that is called Concept XXL, and it's huge and it's great and it's awesome and it's too big for the camera. Start at any time, sir. Okay, so we want you to know that it is a person. That is the main concept. I'm sorry, the main concept is recreation, sport, or activity. This is why I'm terrible at this game. We have a secondary concept of a foot.
Soccer. Football.
Do we have soccer? Is it soccer? It's not soccer. Okay, no.
Football.
Is it football? No, apparently it's not football. Which one? Just show me so I know, so I can take their questions. Okay. Okay, so he's trying to tap to show you that the foot is the important thing he wants you to know. That it is an activity of some kind, but it involves the foot. We have a secondary concept of water.
Ice skating. Water skiing.
Not ice skating, not water skiing.
Dancing.
Not swimming, not speed skating or dancing. You have a primary concept of an activity. You know that you have a secondary concept of the foot and a tertiary concept of a water. An activity with feet and water.
Swimming.
Not surfing, not swimming.
Snorkeling. Swimming.
It is neither swimming nor synchronized.
Water dancing.
It is not water skiing.
Water polo.
Water polo is not it. Wait, what was the last one? Yes, it is a foot bath. That is exactly what it is. It is a foot bath. So that is what this game is. I do not believe a score should be involved in this at all. This is just an activity of frustratingly trying to explain things to people with a limited vocabulary. I've seen people do this to some of the most amazing stuff, where it's like, I'm going to give you Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, the whole title, and can do it with just this board of stuff. Which is just a super cool thing when you see it happen. If you get a little used to it, it's a bit of a language replacement for a lot of folks, but I think it is just a super cool game to try. Also, if any of you are like Twitch streamers, this is the kind of thing you can play with your entire group while you're waiting to like get into your next game, or if you're a board game Twitch streamer before you get into your next heavy game, is you can do this and the entire chat room can play with you. Because exactly as we saw, even if 75 people are in a room screaming out, it doesn't mean anyone's going to get it right. So, let's see, how are we on that? Okay, we're still working on those. I'm going to do 1 or 2 more games I'm going to talk to you about while we get to the very end of this here. We've got about 4 minutes. Let's take a look at Sushi Go Party. There were a couple games where, I don't know that I think they're necessarily like party games, but they sure play a lot of people. This is a game called Sushi Go Party. Does anybody know this one? Okay, do you know 7 Wonders? Yeah. It is very much like 7 Wonders. It is a drafting game. You're going to have a hand of cards. You're going to play a card in front of you. In this game, those cards are sushi. Tasty, tasty sushi. You're then going to hand the rest of the cards to the player to your left or right, depending on the round, and you have certain scoring conditions. In Sushi Go Party, they've set up a collection here that I believe plays either 8 or 10 people. And I would say, as far as like dollar for dollar value goes, this is one of the best values I've ever seen. They've done some really neat stuff where they have a bunch of variable ways you can play the game and different decks you can put in it, but they've given you this like really cool way you can fit cards in. So you can say, where are they? Okay. So you can fit like that in and tell people that these are our scoring conditions. Okay. Go up just a little bit. There we go. So it shows you these are all empty. You can pick all of your scoring conditions, make your own custom deck, and play with your own custom scoring conditions. But the basic play of the game is you look at a hand of cards, you pick one card that is yours, you're going to hand the rest of the cards to the player to your left. So it's a decision of do I take the card that's going to help me, or do I make sure you don't get the card that's going to help you. After you've selected the card, everybody flips them up, you can see what everyone has, and then you grab that stack that was handed to you that came from your right, and you're going to play with that. So that's one of those games, it's not exactly a party game, but it plays so many people, and they put party in the title, that I think it's worth talking about. Another one, roll and writes are huge right now. That's a game where you roll dice and then you write things, and you can play them with countless numbers of people. One that we have here is a game called Quicks. I don't know if you've heard of that, but basically you have a board. Let me pull that up real fast. You have this board right here. The rule is you can only mark spaces from the left to the right. You're going to roll a set of 5 dice, of 6 dice. If you're the main player, you're going to go like that. Everyone gets to know that they can cross off a 5. You additionally can take either one of these dice and any one of the colors and cross off that color. So I might say to everyone, you can use a 5. But what I may do is I may take this and use it to cross off a 4. You go from left to right. So once you've gone to that 4, that 3, and that 2 are gone. Once you get to the end, once somebody has knocked out, I believe, 7 spaces on the board, they cross the lock off, which is worth a bonus, and you can no longer play with that color. You play until all of the different areas are locked off, and then you add points. If you're the main roller and you do not use the white dice, and then you also do not use the colored dice, you take a 5-point penalty for not using any dice at all. Those penalties only come when it's on your turn. So it plays in about, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes, and you can play as many people as you have these boards for. And if you buy it in deluxe, you're going to get a stack of 8 boards to play the game with. Roll and writes are fantastic for that because you only need like a paper to write on and a handful of dice, and you're ready to go. And then we're going to show you one final game. Let's grab the boards for illustration. Let's go through those, and then we're going to show you Happy Salmon as our closer for the day. I'm also going to make one note. There's one type of game I did not talk about. Trivia games. A lot of people love those. In my opinion, there's one party trivia game. It is Wits and Wagers. It is a mix of trivia and gambling. If you like Wits and Wagers, I will be back here at 11 p.m. doing a Wits and Wagers game show with prizes. So if you want to try that one out, feel free to come, and we'll be doing that at 11 p.m. here, so I'm not going to waste your time in this panel with it. We're going to take a look. Let's see what we got with the Telestrations board. So you can see sort of the interactions that Telestrations gives you. Okay, so row 1. We had Pooper Scooper. That kind of looks like a Pooper Scooper, or a couple of other things I may not mention, but there sure is something at the end. We decided it was a vacuum cleaner. Seems fair to me. That is, whoa, that's a very phallic vacuum cleaner.
So usually these are timed.
Yes.
So, but we didn't want to be yelling time in the middle of this, so they're usually not quite so detailed, but it's really good.
It became a vacuum, which got us to a vacuum, which got us to a vacuum, which got us to just an hour. Did someone bring a stencil? Like, is there someone in their purse like, I've been waiting to use this vacuum stencil for weeks? I'm glad we can help you. Vacuum, of course it was a vacuum. It's a perfect vacuum cleaner. And then we get to that, and then that is our last picture, which is of a vacuum. It was not a Pooper Scooper, though. Next one, we have a video game. Seemed like the appropriate place. Okay, a PlayStation controller. I like it. Video game controller, because this crowd's going to be real specific. So just all the controllers. Hey, is there a system you play? Because I'm agnostic. There's all the controllers.
Yeah.
Game controllers, plural, makes sense.
UFOs.
Yeah, UFOs. Tied to a string. It's like walkies with UFOs.
What?
Mr. Dastardly Sinister Science Lab, which I think is appropriate.
Doctor.
I think it's appropriate.
We're sure into that.
Yeah, that's very clearly flasks and bubbles. Yeah, that is definitely a science lab. And then we're going to do our final row, row number 3. This is what it looks like when you play Telestrations. Holy.
We went a different direction.
That deserves a round of applause. I thought maybe he was 6 inches, but 4 inches seems about right. That is darling.
It's nice. Okay.
And then there's where that one goes. goes. That's exactly what you can do with Telestrations. We are with that out of time, and that was a super great way to end. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out to see this, for giving us your hour. Enjoy the rest of your MAGFest, and thank you so much for spending the time with us. If you care about party games, we do make a podcast called The Party Gamecast, featuring the Party Gamecast. Put that however you want, wherever your fine podcasts are sold, and you can find it, I think, technically still a member of the Dice Tower Network. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, and once again, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I will be back.